Getting ready for spring ball. Excited about that. I like what we've done with recruiting as far as our depth goes. There's going to be a lot of competition. It's going to be fun to watch. With that, I'll open it up to questions.
Link, how do you go about replacing those first-round picks that are going to be in the draft?
Well, I think that it's just not like something that happens overnight. I think we've been trying to replace them through recruiting and everything else and the development of the other guys. I think we did a nice job in the portal with the 2 veteran tackles that we got in here. So it's going to be, interesting to see how it all works out, just like I said before we played Alabama. But also I feel really confident in the depth that we have in that room. I feel more confident now than I did last year at this time with the depth, just starting off initially.
Is there a guy or two that you, like Pierce or whoever?
Yeah, let's just wait till we start spring ball, and I'll be able to answer that better for you. Do I expect things big out of from Trey? Sure. Same thing with Ike, and the other 2 guys that we brought in have done a nice job in the weight room and competing, and the drills, out there on the field and watching them move around. So it's going to be fun for us all to watch.
If I could just follow up one more on those inside guys, the 2
There's
guys.
only 3 of us here.
The 2 guys up front that you're bringing in the transfer portal, you mentioned, you were able to get a good feel for them on film?
Yeah, with film, it's just like recruiting a high school guy, except it's better competition and then meeting them in person and going through all that. So it's going to be fun to watch.
And how do you feel about those veteran pieces so far, and where do you think those leaders will step up within your defense?
As far as who?
Just anybody. Is there anyone that you think could stand out as kind of that veteran presence?
Yeah, but I think that you guys can all see that as far as the different guys, how fast they'll stand out. I don't know, but I think we had a lot of guys playing really good football at the end of last year, and we need to get right back to that and start faster this spring.
And for you personally, has things come easier in year 2, just being more familiar with college again?
Yeah, like I said before, I've always said that gets overrated. But yeah, personally, I feel more comfortable just because it's a year here in Ann Arbor, and I'm used to things. That part. But the football part is the football part, and I think that, like I said, the guys really come on there the second half of the season and started playing well with each other, and I think that shows up on Saturdays.
Apparently there's more people in the back there, Glick, so they're coming up anyway.
Dadgummit.
Go ahead, Dennis.
How about the cornerback position? I think that you mentioned the ReliaQuest Bowl. You had a Hall there, but everybody else looks like they're coming back. What about the corner position?
Yeah, I think like I said, everything is going to be. Let's wait until after we start practicing. But there's some guys that are going to be fun to watch. Some of the freshmen are just getting here with Shamari and those guys, and some of our portal guys as well. That you just don't have a good enough feel, and I'd just be straight lying to you if I said, hey, I think this, this, and this. You know what I mean? You just got to wait and see it.
How about
Keep going, Dennis.
how about-
Or we can wait a minute till the rest of these people.
I got more questions. I don't know if scheme-wise, there was a lot of talk about early on that maybe you were blitzing too much, and then I think you told somebody out in the field, did you like the blitz? And I don't know, how do you feel about your schemes and how long it took and where the players are at? What are they talking about?
Well, I think all of that. It's like big time wrestling. You throw something out there, and it catches. In social media, and I know that you guys all have a job to do, and everybody has an opinion. The rest of that statement, but it was just like when we played Ohio State compared to Alabama. It was 2 different game plans. And that's what I was proud of. Not that it was 2 different game plans was I proud of it, but the execution of the 2 different game plans. And Ohio State, the guys, like I told you, they executed the game plan and they played physical with it. And so it's the scheme is the scheme. It's the same scheme for the last 3 years. Do I take pride in, did I let both Jesse and Mike know that we held Ohio State to 10 points and they didn't? Yes, of course I did. But, we'll see what we can do with what we have. It's new people. It's a new year. It's the same thing I said before last year. It's going to be different. Don't know how it's going to be different, but it's going to be different. And we'll see how we adjust, during the season and, starting with spring ball here. But I'm really excited about, just like I said, seeing the guys compete.
Do you think there's a chance for there's some highly touted freshmen? I don't know, you'd be watching on film, but do you think there's a chance for certain positions? Which positions would you say some of those guys have a shot?
Well, I think all of them have a chance, where we wouldn't have recruited them. I think, I've said many a times up here that, Lamar and BJ and Lou did a tremendous job in recruiting. We're excited about some of the young kids, and some of the young kids are not even here yet. We're excited about them as well. So, once we get everybody here and we get a spring under our belt, I just know this in my career, any coach that's worth anything, he's always going to play the best player. So if one of those new young guys are the best player, he's going to play. And, how fast he plays, we'll find out.
All right, thanks for everyone else showing up here today.
All of you are fined.
This guy told us to click.
Oh, wow.
There's a whole group that actually paid attention and read, Dennis.
Threw under the boat,
Yeah,
and you have
right.
no more questions left.
We're gonna go with Tony here.
Anyway, sorry for showing up late.
No
I
worries.
guess just new season, general thoughts. Obviously, every year turnover, of course, is a thing. But you guys are losing a ton of high-end talent on your side. I guess who excites you the most about stepping up and replacing some of those guys?
That's like asking who your favorite child is or favorite grandchild. I think that it's just exciting that it's spring ball, and like I said earlier, that let's get into spring and watch them compete and watch them move around, and all of us can make that decision on our own of who excites you the most as far as that goes. I do think we have more depth, that I covered earlier, in the defense overall and in each room, and the quality that Lamar and Lou and BJ brought in has really helped us as a defense, because we all have the same vision, moving forward, as all four of us know exactly what fits and how we can use it and everything else. So it's exciting times here for us defensively.
It feels like last year. Do you feel like you really set that foundation?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, as us as an entire staff did. We got to know each other, and the players, most importantly, got to know us, and we got to know the players well, of what they do well. Where's the best spots we can put these guys, and and the execution of the defense improved throughout the year.
In the back right there, Alejandro.
Wink, last spring you spoke very highly of Rod Moore before he got hurt. I wonder if you can give us an update on how he's doing, if you expect to have him at all this spring.
Well, Sharon's going to talk, about all the injuries. I know he's progressing. I know he's doing well. When he'll be available, I'm not privy to that yet.
On the left, Chris.
Zeke Berry showed some things at corner. Do you anticipate him starting out the season there? And obviously he's flexible, but what'd you like what you saw from him there?
Well, the corner was out of necessity, and I thought he played and competed very well there. The thing that's unique about Zeke is we can put him basically wherever we need him, and he'll have some reps inside at nickel and reps outside at corner, and in the end, if he's one of the top three corners, for example, I'm just giving you an example, and the other two are primarily outside guys, then we'll move him inside. If one of the guys is an inside guy, then we'll keep him on the outside. That's the value of Zeke Berry, is that he can play both the inside and outside, and that's rare, when you're talking about coaching corners. But he's done a nice job in the off season, getting his body right and getting ready to go. So like I said, it's going to be fun times for us.
Along with Jair, who would the other 2 or 3 be that are competing there?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. I mean, I don't even want to get into that. It's just, like I said, at a later date, I'll be able to tell you. We got some guys we got from the portal that look good, and there's some young guys coming, that obviously Shamari Earls, the freshman, he looks really good as well. So it's, you got to wait and see when you actually practice football, because the only way you get better at football is playing football and practicing football.
Back right, Charles?
Yeah, who do you expect to be in the mix for a nickel?
There's about 6 or 7 guys, and there's too many to name right now. So, it's like we got, we have different packages that we looked at in the off season of how we want to attack it, and I know I'm boring up here just telling you we got to wait till we get into spring ball to see who stands out, because a credit to them, they've all done well in the weight room and in prepping for this season. So it's going to be exciting to see when we actually can play some football.
On the left here, Isaiah?
How much do you think it helps the players just to have the consistency of you returning for a second year, even though you've had the same scheme over the last couple of years, just to have the consistency in coaching? How does that affect them, do you think, going into this year?
I think that it's a factor. I do. I think that, these kids are more resilient than what anybody will realize. The way this thing goes with people going in the portal and coming out of the portal and all the other movement that you see in college football and in the NFL. Every year's a new year, and I think that they're excited and ready to go. And I think there is, the comfort that, that I was here last year and all the staff's back besides Kevin, with the outside guys. So, I think that it'll help us.
Right next to him, John?
You went into the bowl game with some people saying these guys might have some issues, given that a lot of the guys that contributed greatly during the season aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
Does this group that you've got draw confidence from that game especially that can carry into spring and even into the season?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, the Ohio State game is, the big underdog that we were, and then missing, 5 starters? Wasn't it 5 starters off defense going into Alabama? And the way they competed was just awesome, and, and they were just playing physical Michigan football, which you can see there's obviously a lot of success by doing that.
On the left there, Clayton?
Just talk about each Metcalf brother, what you liked about them, and maybe where they fit in early on. I know it's very early.
The youngest one is got really good feet. He just doesn't have a lot of experience compared to his brother, and I like I said, it's going to be fun to watch them to see exactly where they fit. Can we move people in and out at nickel and for bigger packages, maybe Tiger or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see.
Back right there, Aaron?
You lost a couple of big pieces at D-tackle. How do you feel about the group coming back and some of the portal guys you had?
Yeah, I really like the portal guys that we added. I think we have more depth than we had last year at this time. So we'll wait and see when we get through it, through the spring. And there's going to be somebody that jumps out and surprises all of us. We just got to see who it's going to be. I know they've all had a good off season.
Right here, Austin?
You've been open about exploring NFL opportunities if the right thing comes along. Basically, everybody on the staff has coordinator experience. Do you turn an eye towards maybe preparing somebody for that role eventually if that time comes?
I do that. I did that last year. And I think if you ask those guys that, they'll feel that way. I think that, once again, at my age, that, my job is to develop players first and develop coaches second. I'm not going to be being a keynote speaker at any, college convention, deal or anything like that. I think that if you develop the people around you and you make them good enough that other people are interested in them, you're doing your job, and you got to treat them well enough that they want to stay. and that's what we've had this year. And I was with Kevin, who went to Jacksonville. I was with him for 10 years. It was time for him to leave the nest, just like it was for Drew, who's with the Rams now, his brother that was with me for 13 years. So, I think that I know I'm confident that any one of those guys could be a coordinator. So I'm just going to keep, bringing those guys on, and it's their job to bring the assistants that are underneath them on. So if Lou gets, for an example, if Lou gets a coordinator's job, then Double D's ready to step in and be the D-line coach here. And I think that's how you can build a strong organization when you have that type of philosophy. You're just not hiring guys to hire them.
In the back, Sam?
So toward the end of the year, Tayshaun really started to come on, but you look at him and you see guys like what Mike is doing, what Overshown is doing, and you get intoxicated with what he can do as a rusher. So how do you balance that? I mean, do you want to do more with him as a rusher versus what he was doing as a backer? Do you see expanding his role?
Well, I think there's definitely going to be expanding his role, Sam. But I think it goes game to game of how we want to use him. Do we want to use him as a rusher off the ball, for example, because that is a trait that the NFL looks for. Can he rush off the edge? Sure he can. We rushed him off the edge last year. I think that we need to give him more work at rushing off the edge to fully prepare him for the next step that he's taken. And how that fits into our game plans, we'll wait and see how that does. But we played him on the edge quite a bit last year as well. But when you have the guys you have that were edge players for us last year, it's hard to always get those reps too. So it's an exciting time. Like I said, I feel really good about our depth overall as a defense. And I said this today in a staff meeting. Do we have any bona fide first-round picks? I'm not sure. We'll wait and see how this season goes. But I know we got some next day draft picks sitting there ready to go right now. I can say that confidently with the guys that we have, and we have more depth, like I said, in every room.
Got time for a few more. I've got 3 people on the list. We'll start with Tony.
Yeah, speaking to that general point, the unit was really good last year and progressed.
What? I'm sorry.
The unit as a whole was good, very solid last year, progressed the whole way. But I guess I wonder, what would you like to see maybe initially be better now that you're in year 2? Where would you like to see the greatest?
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me, I know that we gave the offense 42 extra chances to get the football, whether it's a blocked field goal, whether it's holding somebody on 4th down, not just the normal, interceptions, everything like that. So I think we need to continue to do that. 3rd and 11 plus was not good to us statistically. So, we're going to look, it's crazy because 7 to 10 is not bad, but 11 plus, when there's a missed tackle or, a bust in a coverage or, something like that stood out. It's not a crazy, let's panic because of it stat, but that's something we need to get. We need to be more along the lines of our standard.
Next one, Ryan.
In what ways did you see the late year success last year carry into the offseason from the defense?
Well, I just think that it gave people excitement. There wasn't anybody banging on the door saying they wanted to transfer, so they're excited about this season and where we're going with it. And, it's going to be interesting when I say, I started off by saying this year's going to be different, just like I said last year's going to be different. It's going to be interesting to see, right before the kickoff of the season when you got to get down to 105. So that'll be interesting to see, where we're all at and, who's healthy, who's available to make that 105. And you got to be exact with those when you start getting down to those numbers, because it's going to be a completely different thing to watch on Saturday, because there should, it should, competition, iron sharpens iron. So we'll see how that goes, but it's going to be a challenge.
I'm sure our last series of questions were going to come from one person, and Julie through here. So
I have multiple.
Multiple.
Yeah. My first, I apologize if you were asked this already, but at the combine, a lot of the guys were asked, who do you think will surprise people this year, or who to watch, and they all said Derek Moore. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
I don't think that's going to be any surprise at all. I mean, I'm expecting Derek to jump out there. I think that you saw, you know, how he took off in just the bowl game. You know, and had, what do you have, 2 sacks or something, 2.5 sacks? But, you know, not that sacks is the measuring stick, it's all the other things that he does. So, you know, I'm expecting big things from Demo.
My other question is on one, I mean, you know, working with the offensive line, I think you maybe overlapped with him a little bit during your NFL careers. And I was just wondering, what do you think he brings to the coaching offensive line? How will he help this group?
I think that he's an analyst that is going to work with some younger guys. So I don't, it's an offensive question. I don't even really pay attention to it.
Do I get one bonus?
Not after that.
An impression of somebody who's worked with him before.
Yeah, please, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, on Mason, just in terms of the NFL draft, the knock now coming out of the combine is that his weight was, you know, is lighter than people thought, and is this going to knock him down? How do you defend that?
Well, first of all, I don't have to defend anything for Mason because his tape defends what Mason can do. You know, you get in those situations, and I'm speaking now of a guy from experience in the NFL. You know, they're doing medical examinations, they're doing all these different things, medical, mental, all these different meetings and everything else. And I know for a fact a lot of guys don't have time to eat. And, you know, so I think it wasn't like he dropped weight to run because he didn't run. I know that he's like, I think he's 307 now, you know, which is, you know, a good weight, lighter than what he was. You know, good weight to do all the testing. But I know that he can, you know, especially with his wrestling background, he could be at 315 just like that if that's what, you know, whoever drafts him wants. Or he could be lighter. But I think, you know, in Indy, when he weighed in, he was just as shocked as anybody else. But then you sit there and think about all the different things and all the different places they have to take him to, you know, get all the things done medically and all those things, the travel and everything else. They're in the process now. The NFL is in the process now of. Before it was, oh, he's going to be great. Oh, you know, the guys are standing on the table, and now it comes down to nut cutting time, where is that okay to say? Mm-hmm. All right. That now they're trying to talk themselves out of who to draft. Because, you know, it's a lot of money, you know, investing in a first-round pick. You know, Dave and I were talking about that coming down. You know, that's, you know, every team needs a quarterback that's drafting early, right? Are you ready to stand on the table for a quarterback? Because, you know, the hit rate is not very high in drafting a quarterback. So, you know, it'll happen because it happens every year, but. You know, the NFL process right now is now they're trying to talk themselves out of not drafting a guy. I like the guys like, you know, I had a head coach text me this morning, you know, and was asking me about both the tackles, and he was asking the right questions, you know, so you know, those are the kind of conversations I like to have that they can see on tape.
What are the right questions?
Just, you know, is he football smart? Is he, you know, he did really well in our interview. You know those type of things. Yeah, it's not an act. You know, I tell them that's who they are, and you know, I think it's a benefit for our players or the guys that I do know in the league. They can call me and I can tell them the truth.